Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, in case you hear the fan at the foot of the bed, anyway, it's a little warm in here today, so I've got that going on low to help with some air circulation. So my apologies in case anything happens or whatever. So anywho, um, yeah, uh, I decided last night, I was getting ready for work and I was just crashing as I was getting ready for work. Excuse me. Um, it was just, yeah, I was having extreme difficulties keeping my eyes open. I'm like, no, this is not a good situation. And another thing too, that always a telltale sign for me anyway, knowing that I've reached my limits is I can have a tendency to get a bit cold, like internal cold, and it's kind of a thing with me anyway before I fall asleep in bed. It's like I have to get myself all completely bundled up and everything in order to sleep properly. In order to fall asleep, it's like that warmth or whatever, just kind of a soothing feeling or what. I don't know. I don't get it, but I do. Every time, I get tired, especially that tired, like what I was last night, I just get extremely, extremely cold. But I also knew I wasn't going to be able to fall asleep right away. Of course, with everything that's going on and it has been going on, it's like, yeah, I'm just my brain is in overdrive. So I decided, okay, I'm just I'm just gonna chill, and I'm like, you know what? Let's watch a movie. I haven't watched a movie in a while. I'm more of a TV watcher, I guess. Streaming something. Mostly when I like eat my meals, I'll stream something. Whatever I happen to find out there or whatever. And so, anyway, yeah, um, I was kind of all over the place as far as what genre to watch or whatever. Ultimately, I found something. It was a good movie. It was a really good movie. So, but yeah, and I pretty much crashed after that. But I didn't want to like eat dinner so early because I would have had to have taken my um, 24-hour insulin, and I'd much rather keep on that schedule since how I tend to stay working on the same schedule and everything, and that's the overlapping can cause issues, and then on top of it, and I'm already having issues enough as it is. So, so yeah, between that and I don't want to like go back out to work tonight and then I wind up running into um, my basically my long lasting insulin uh, timing out, and then I'm going through the roof again. Don't want that. So anyway, yeah, it was kind of nice, and it was basically Possum and me. She came out. She was cuddled up here in my arm, and pretty much stayed there almost throughout the whole movie. It was almost a 2 hour long movie, so it was like, okay, this is cool. I know, it's like I was thinking yesterday. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a vacation. I just need a break. But sometimes, just doing something like that, just vegetating is vacation enough. And that's usually what my vacations actually are. Um, if you want to call them that. I haven't had a vacation. I don't even remember the last time I had a vacation. So, oh well, no big deal. I don't worry about it. Um, so, but yeah, actually, speaking of vacation, I was just with everything going on, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, my birthday's coming up here in a couple of months. I've been so focused on you know, in the moment that I'm like, oh, forgot about my birthday coming up. What should I do? You know, cross that bridge when I get to it. I'm not gonna focus on that right now. So, but anyway, yeah. A couple things I forgot to mention with yesterday's video with what happened with me with work. One of them was I was just so excited too when it happened. I was going. I guess, up Boulder Highway. That section of road, you kind of go down. So I'm thinking down, but I was traveling north, let's do it that way, on Boulder Highway. And I seen something crossing the road. And I was like, I wonder if it is. Sure enough, it was a single coyote. I was a little surprised. Of course, I can't tell male or female or anything, but I could definitely see that it looked like it had been injured a little bit. It was kind of limping a little bit on its right front paw. So, and of course, I had to slow down. There was nobody around me. I slowed down and turned. It turned around and looked at me, and it's just like, okay, and kept right on going. So it's okay. Yeah. And what was the other thing I was going to mention? I don't remember. I don't remember, but oh well. But yeah, I wanted to mention that. It's like, oh, I just get so excited whenever I see wildlife. It does make me think about, um, what this area was like before settlers and so forth. And especially with the name Las Vegas, it's actually um, Spanish for the meadows, and it just makes me wonder uh, what it looked like before all of this happened. I do see it, with the areas with the little sections that haven't been developed and everything, and unfortunately, that development is creeping further and further out. I've seen it, of course, I've seen it a lot over the last 20 years since I've moved here. But, and in many ways, it's sad. It really is. It is sad, but um, I guess as the old saying goes, you can't fight progress. Um, but I'm also content with the fact that I know that there's areas, uh, still out there that haven't seen settlement and so forth. That's still wild, and I'm happy that we still have those areas. And I'm not just talking, like national parks or national wildlife refuges or anything like that. Just talking in general. I know that there's uh, a lot of areas as I've been through them. I've seen them, and they're absolutely gorgeous, magnificent, beautiful. So, yeah, I'm just very, very happy that we still have those areas that we can go to and appreciate and enjoy. So, but yeah, it's yeah. The only thing that really, in some ways, bothers me is I was in hopes that we wouldn't see development starting to happen going up Spring Mountain. But unfortunately, with Sky Canyon opening up several years ago, um, now we're starting to see development happening up in that area. Yeah, there has been the village up there on Spring Mountain. Basically, is adjacent to Mount Charleston. The whole area is kind of considered to be Mount Charleston, to be perfectly honest. But the area that I'm talking about is like where Mount Charleston Lodge is at, and further up there at the end of the drive. Um, Very, very beautiful. A lot of log cabins and so forth. Used to be not very expensive even, but now it's just gotten to be astronomical. Um, I was in hopes that maybe at some point, and I know I have a love for Victorian homes. I know I've said that many, many times. They'll always be forever in my heart. And my very first house I ever lived in was a Victorian. That's one of the reasons why it sticks with me so much, because I just think they're absolutely beautiful. Um, but I'd have to say definitely my second love have always been log cabins. That's my mom too. She always wanted to um, live in a log cabin, but unfortunately it didn't happen. I was hoping I could fulfill that dream for her at some point, but oh well, that's okay. Um, so But yeah, that's I'll admit it because I love it up there. It is beautiful, but it is what it is. You know, a log cabin with a bay window. hmm Love bay windows. Oh gosh, especially Christmas time. You had the Christmas tree in it and everything, and little village up underneath, and so forth. It's like yeah, but it's okay. That's okay. One day, one day. Uh, Gotta get through this first. Right here. That's what I focus on. Right here, right now. That's what I focus on. So, anyway, but yeah, that's not, yeah, I know I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. So, yeah, that's really the only thing. I was really quite surprised. I think it was earlier this year when I, excuse me, had dropped off. Sorry, dropped off this party of ladies, very young ladies. If they were lucky, they were 18. Um, and they probably were. If they were lucky, they were 21. Put it that way. Yeah, very sketchy in age. Um, but anyway, yeah, I was dropping them off up there, and I was surprised to see that there was a neighborhood. I mean, aside from like the village up there at the top of the mountain, but right there, more towards the base, closer to the freeway. I was very surprised to see that there was a development there, a new development. You could obviously it was definitely just recently opened. A little sad. It's a little sad. But it is what it is. Actually, it was kind of funny with that situation. Oh my gosh, it was, I guess they were a group of friends, and they were all going to the one friend's house, and of course she was still living at home with mom, and she didn't know the gate code, and then they were trying to figure out how to get in there. And it was so funny because the one girl, she was trying to climb up the gate, the exit gate on top of it. And I'm just sitting there and I'm watching these shenanigans. And finally, I yelled out the window, here, I'm going to have to fix my tablet here a minute. This gate, okay, it was like you had the pillars on the sides, and then the bottom of the gate was like right here. Plenty of space for them to just crawl under. And here they are, they're trying to climb the gate and this and that and everything, and I'm sitting there. I couldn't help myself. I had to just sit there and watch it. I finally opened up the window and said to them, you could just crawl up underneath the gate there. And they look and they're like, oh, yeah. I was just like, okay, whatever. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Some people, they just don't think. Like, oh, yeah, okay. Makes for great stories. Makes for great stories. And I've got a ton of them. I've got a ton of them. Believe me. I know I could write a book. But a lot of times revisiting some of that stuff is just like, do I really want to spread that negativity? I know sometimes I do sometimes up here with stories, but some of it was just like, if I was to write a book about it, about my experiences both as a cab driver and as a rideshare driver. And I know it would probably be a good seller. I know that. But if I did, I would definitely make sure it included the little bit more of the scarier moments as well. Like time when I had basically someone had a gun to my back, things like that. Because people would need to realize that these jobs are not all fun and games. and it is very dangerous to be doing. I remember reading a statistic at one point, while I was still a cab driver, that actually being a cab driver was more dangerous than somebody who's a police officer or a firefighter, statistically speaking. So, yeah, I knew what I was getting myself into when I decided to be a cab driver. I didn't go into it blind. Yeah, don't get me wrong, in many ways I was green. Um, but at the same point, I knew what I was getting myself into. Um, I, under, I understood the element that I possibly could wind up servicing. And that's the thing. It isn't so much. I know everybody's always harping on the tourists. Oh, you gotta be careful with the tourists. It's not the tourists. It's the locals. You gotta be careful with. And even when you go to get your permit from the taxi cab authority, yeah, in order to drive here, you have to have a permit from the governing, but it's a local governing. Well, it's a state body, and it's called the Taxi Cab Authority. It got started, I think it was the late '60s or something like that. If my history lesson, if I'm remembering correctly, anyway. You basically what was happening at that time is there was a lot of issues with drivers who were basically trying to monopolize, like different hotels and so on and so forth. And Metro was having issues with being able to keep up with all of the problems that they were having. So this governing agency was formed, and it's called the Taxi Cab Authority, to try and take care of these situations. But of course, the cab industry ballooned like crazy over the decades, and eventually they wound up having to go back to Metro and be like, "Hey, look, we need help." So now it's more of a joint task force than because before Metro didn't really have much jurisdiction over us. They did, as far as be able to write traffic citations, things like that. But as far as anything having to do with cabs individually, like investigating accidents, investigating robberies, murders, so on and so forth. That was under the jurisdiction of the Taxi Cab Authority, or the TA, as we call it. So anyway, but yeah, there, in order to get your permit to drive, first, of course, you have to get your approval from whatever company you're going to be driving for, and then you take that over to the TA. And before you can be issued out the permit, of course, you have to take a test, all this sort of crap. It's more reading comprehension. Make sure you know and understand English. Let's face it, most of them are not non-English speaking people, at least at that time. And so, anyway, you also have to sit through an 8-hour safety class, and it changed a lot. There was a time there when I had let my permit go because I wasn't, in it or anything. So, and of course I wasn't driving for a company, so of course I couldn't renew or anything. But when I had to go back into it, I of course had to sit through that safety class again, and it changed dramatically from the time when I had sat through the class the first time to the second time. First time, it was an actual officer, TA officer. They have their own police force, by the way. But it was an actual officer who was running the class, and he showed us pictures of, like, this is what can happen to you if you're not careful, sort of thing. And there's the one picture that he showed. I think it happened in New York or something like that. But And I'd say that because the cab definitely wasn't here. I'm not too sure where it was. Um, but it just kind of put me in the mind of maybe a New York cab. But the picture that he showed, it was basically this guy. Um, and I kind of say that like that because he had a little bit long hair, Jerry curl, okay, and basically he wound up in a robbery situation where somebody had jumped up onto the cab and blew his head off point blank range with a shotgun. So yeah, that image definitely has stuck with me over the years, and it wasn't a very pretty picture. I won't go into details with describing it on here. So, but yeah, and I have gotten myself into some of those scary situations. Like I said, I know have had a gun pointed to my back. So, and if it wasn't for my quick thinking and basically playing things out, then I probably wouldn't be here right now. And I know that. Um, at the time, uh, um, the mandate had just come down where the cabs were going to have to be required to have cameras installed, and so um, there was that transition period where, of course, they had that time to be able to get them all into the cab. So it could be hit and miss if you got a cab with a camera in it. And if you the thing with the cameras, they're always recording but not always saving, and it isn't until the camera is actually tripped that the camera saves the footage. So basically it's like the last 10 seconds, then you have the trip point, and then the next 10 seconds. That all is saved, 20 minutes, or excuse me, 20 seconds worth of video. So, yeah, I knew I was in trouble. I definitely knew I was in trouble. I knew I was in the middle of uh, drug negotiations and so forth with who I had picked up. And fortunately, I found an opportunity where it was basically these two guys, and there was this other one of them. He went inside to do the deal, and the other guy, he stayed in a car and was chit-chatting with me. Yeah, he was flirting with me a little bit, saying, "Oh, I know somebody, turn you into a model," all this sort of crap and everything. And I'm just like, "Oh, okay," and everything. And he finally relaxed long enough because he was just watching me like a hawk. And he finally relaxed long enough to where he just kind of quickly, he turned his head, looked out the window, and that's when I tripped the camera. And when the camera's tripped, there's a light on the front that will go off for several seconds. I don't remember how long or anything, but he seen my hand trip it, and the light was flashing, and he definitely turned pale. And I just had that sneaky suspicion that definitely he probably has a record, obviously, most likely. And I was at least able to get him on film in case something did happen. At least I would be able to talk to him from, get him caught from the grave, basically. That's the way I looked at it. So, and I knew he was carrying a weapon. You just get those feelings, after you're doing things for a while. So, but yeah, that was probably my scariest one I ever had. And fortunately, that he didn't say anything. He knew, And I just kind of sat back and was just like, yeah, I got you, buddy. And no matter what, I at least got you on film. And I still say that's what saved my life to this day. And sometimes you wind up in those situations where you got to do things that you normally wouldn't do, or whatever, you know. So, yeah, like I said, that is probably the scariest thing I ever had to face. I mean, there were some other things too that happened, but you know, it's part of the job, you know. And at the time, I was supporting my mom. She had just become disabled, and there weren't too many options available, so I did what I had to do. Learned a lot over the years about a lot of different things. Yeah, so, but anyway, yeah, I had no idea. You know, most of the time I don't even know what I'm going to talk about when I come up here. I just do. Um, Most of it is unscripted. I might start off with something, and the next thing I know, it's like, oh, okay, never mind. So, but anywho, yeah, I plan on getting back to work tonight. Definitely have to. Oh, that was one thing I was going to mention just before I jumped up on here. Got the email from the courts with the court date and time, September 26th, 2 o'clock. So, see what happens. And hopefully maybe in the process, that application I put in with the county will come through. Fingers crossed. Send positive energy that it will, please. That's all I'm trying to do. You know, all I want to do is get caught up. You know, it wasn't my intention to be in this or anything. Absolutely not. Oops. She says hi, by the way. But it is what it is, you know. It's like, I think that probably the biggest lesson throughout all of this is, no matter how much you can prepare for something, no matter how much you prepare for, say, retirement or those eventualities or whatever, there's always going to be that one thing that's going to break you every single time. You want to say hi? Say hi. She's like, who am I saying hi to? She's such a silly. She knows I'm recording. Hey, there you go. So, and I know a lot of people know and understand that. So, yeah, it is what it is. But, anywho, so I hope that you guys are having a great day. I know I've got a lot of things that I have to do. At least I'm feeling better. I just desperately needed some of that rest. I really, really did. I was just feeling it too much. The drive was dropping. So, but anyway, yeah, you know, you want to say hi again? Say hi. I know, she's so pretty. She's like, yeah, whatever. All right, I'm gonna let you all go so I can get her some food, her some breakfast, and me some breakfast, and go check on my laundry. All right, I love you guys. I really do. All right, I'll talk to you all soon. Love you.